Hi, this is Sheri Gruden, and I'm here with Neil.
All right, everybody, here we are live with Neil. I have Sheri Gruden, wife of excellent guitar player Steve Gruden, and we're looking forward to talking to her a little bit about her life with Steve and his legacy and all the other good things she's involved with. How are you, Sheri?
I'm good, thank you. It's a weird world, but we're hanging in there.
That's right. We're both upright and vertical, so I can't complain. Anyhow, so I guess we'll just get started. You were around in the Tampa music scene in the 80s and 90s, and you're still here, so I consider you family. And,
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with the Tampa music scene and your husband and how you met.
Okay, good. It was exciting. Back in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, a friend of mine and a friend of probably most of your listeners with Rick Moon, he's my longest friend. I've been friends with him since I was 16 years old.
Wow.
So I've always loved music. I've always been involved with music in some way or another. I'm more of an appreciator than I am an artist. So anyway, he was doing a recording session at More Sound Recording Studio, and he asked me to come along, and that opened my mind and my door. So that's how I became involved truly with music, was through that experience. So he was doing the Steinhardt Moon project with Robbie Steinhardt.
Yes.
And we were recording in the A room, the big room.
Oh, yes.
And so with Jim Morris and Tom Morris, Jim was mostly engineering. And so how I met Steve was working at More Sound as a tech, but I didn't know that. And I came in one evening with Rick and the group of people that were recording that night, and there was somebody in the A room up on like a 20-foot ladder changing out gel lights. And I looked through the big window into the A room, and I saw these gorgeous man legs. I have to say that.
Right.
And then I saw this guy. He was just really beautiful, and he was changing the gel lights in the A room. So a little bit later, we took a break in the room, and we went out into the lobby, and I saw him again, and it was just nice to look at. So a few days later, we came into the studio again, and I went out to take a break, and in the B room, the smaller room, Steve was a super huge singer. So
yes.
I heard this voice, and I was shocked at the voice. So then I had to go walk down the hall to the B room and look through the little glass window, and it was the same guy that I saw on the ladder. That sealed the deal for me. Oh my gosh, that voice. So we met up in the lobby at More Sound, and we just kind of took it from there. So that's
a great story.
We just found out that we had a lot in common, and Steve was one of the most humble humans I had ever met in my life. If you ask people that knew him what he was like, usually that's the first phrase that comes out, is he was so humble and he was so talented. But it was his humility that really drew me to him. So then we started hanging out a little more at More Sound, and then it progressed to he joined Secret Service, and that was with Tom Perry and Mark Busteau, Rick Morgan.
I remember saw them many times over the years.
Yes, and before them, he was with Secret Service previously. He had moved down here when he was about 18 from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And he had a car full of his stuff and a guitar. And innocent as the day is born, and came down here to Florida. And it was actually Tom Perry and Mark Busteau that discovered Steve in the Bottle Club in Newport Richey. singing one night, and they said, "Oh my gosh, this guy has no idea what kind of talent he has."
Mm-hmm.
And so they approached him and said, let's start some rehearsal, and that's where that took off with Tom, Mark, and Rick. So
wow, that's great. How long were you together before you guys had kids?
well, it's actually my daughter. When we met, she was 5. So he adopted her, and she has his last name,
Right.
except she's married now, but still keeps part of his last name anyway. I have one grandchild, my grandson. Good.
Let's talk about what were your favorite songs that he wrote. I know I've got a couple of them that you've sent, and they're great. I mean, his voice is just still stands the test of time.
Thank you.
Very talented.
It does. I'll tell you that all of the songs that they wrote, especially with Rick Morgan and Steve writing, they were unbelievably beautiful. And then Steve would sit in the house with the guitar and just noodle and write down thoughts, because he was a great writer as well as a musician, as well as a singer. So it was the ones that really packed a punch were the ones that Rick Morgan and Steve wrote together.
Right.
And they wrote them here in the living room, and then they worked on them at rehearsal. So it was pretty amazing. And then the one that I sent you the other day, it's very poignant. It was called Time to Go Away.
Right.
And it's just Steve and a guitar, and he recorded that in our living room. He had just purchased a loop with an effect on it.
Right.
And so if you listen to that song, you'll hear the loop. Well, I
kind of noticed that and thought that was really cool, and I was surprised because looping's so big now. But back then, it's what we all had to do to write. Times have changed. We actually had to do the loop and stuff.
Yes, and this loop actually let him replicate what he was doing, so that there was it's just a uniqueness that what came out with just a guitar and an effect. And then he and Rick worked on the words of the song. So that was pretty amazing.
That's great. Let me ask you, what were some of his influences growing up? When did he start playing and that kind of thing?
Actually, he was a vocalist in high school, and he had won some awards for his vocal prowess in Wisconsin.
What kind of music he would think things would be if he was still alive? What do you think he would be doing, and what might he be aspired to?
I think that he would probably be, except for the pandemic, doing substantial concerts. I'm sure that they were ready to launch. They had been signed to Atlantic Records before with Secret Service back in the first version, and they had been courted by A&R reps. You and I were talking the other day too about the Southeastern Music Conference,
right?
And that was a good time here in this area for A&R reps, when they would come out and see venues full of people that were showcasing for them. And some got signed that way.
Absolutely. I think a guy like Steve, I mean, he really was the whole package. Anybody who's seen the live shows would say, yes, major talent. And, with the whole Hollywood star-making machine, a guy like him would have definitely climbed. God knows only what great things would have come. But we all know that. And I'm sure it's got to be awful. And I'm sure you and your daughter miss him terribly.
Oh, we do. I feel like I'm in a bit of a time warp. I don't know. It's like the last 20 years have all condensed into, I think it was yesterday or last week. But we talk about him, and we keep him alive, and his memory's alive, and people still send me fan mail and want to know about him, and they want to know if we've got any, if we've done the repress on the album that we released for his tribute. And so we just keep him alive. He's still in our hearts and in our thoughts and in our minds.
Sure. So, do you have any plans to release any of his stuff that you own or have ownership of?
I'm going to answer that with yes, I hope so.
Okay.
We were hoping to do something with the 25th anniversary which was this past year.
So I guess I have to ask, do you still have Steve's guitars?
Oh, I do. Let's see. We've got.
All right. Very nice.
Now,
so is there anything else you think that if you were telling the story, what would Steve tell an aspiring musician to do?
Stay humble, write from your heart.
Right.
And be kind.
I couldn't think of a better thing to tell a person in everything, in all things in life. And to remember that life has changes and challenges, but we all, if we're good people, hopefully we'll make civilization, society somewhat better rather than bring it down. We all work together. I don't believe in color and so forth. The human race is one race. It's not hyphenated, and but that's my opinion. Anyhow, everybody who's been watching, thank you to Sherrie for joining us. I get so many memories coming back, hearing all these stories, and look forward to putting this together. Sherrie, it's been great to have you, and thank you for being on Live with Neil. I will be keeping up with you, and as the book project unfolds, I'm sure we'll be talking again, because I'll probably be working on timelines and stuff. And I have a lot of work in front of me, so it may be a while, but I'm working through the list. And I look forward to telling Steve's story. And you have a great day, and good luck with your continuing ongoing help for the senior citizens.
Thank you.
That's a great cause, and I respect you a bunch. So thank you for being here. All right, we'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.